Copy. We're just outside our nation's capital as we get set for the NWSL Game of the Week. The Pride visit the Spirit. We are starting our pregame show in just a few seconds. We're here at Maureen Hendricks Field getting set for the NWSL Game of the Week. The Pride visiting the Washington Spirit. Hawker is here. He's ready for his first ever soccer game. Hawker's pumped. His family's pumped. Great to have you guys all here. We're happy to be here for you again. The NWSL pregame show. The second time we're going to have a night game, NWSL on ESPN, presented by Lifetime. Yes, it's a mouthful, but you will enjoy it. In about 20 minutes, we'll kick off. We've got a huge game coming up. The Pride, a team right now tied for second in the league. The Spirit, a team trying to get going, but because of such a logjam, 3 points will go a long way for their season. We'll get you all the storylines cut up across the league. Obviously, a big week, the Kristen Press trade, Morgan Bryan coming back into the league. Kate Markgraf will join me to talk about all of that, break down the game. But before we get there, let's get to the lineups, get Jenn Hildreth to check them out. And Jen, we'll call her Jen Cool, I believe, in her glasses right now. Gives you the lineups.
Oh, that's a surprise for later, Dalen. I'm going to break out Jen Cool in a little bit as I welcome you guys into our booth and what Dalen likes to call the ivory tower. Not so much up here, but hey, it's not so bad also. We're getting things ready for the game. And in this one, it is the second meeting of the season between these two teams. Washington winning the first one, but that was early in the season. You're going to see a lot of changes, though, to the lineups from that game to this one. And I'm sorry, Washington Spirit fans, I don't have much of an update for you on Mallory Pugh other than to tell you she's still rehabbing, not here with the team. So this is the lineup as it stands. Unfortunately, you also notice no Rose Lavelle. Now, she is available, Jim Gabera told us, but they're being cautious as she did have some pain in that hamstring after the last game. Joanna Lohman also getting into the starting lineup again today as Stefania Bonini, a late scratch due to some hamstring tightness, although she also would be available if needed. Aubrey Bledsoe in goal, facing her former team, the Orlando Pride, a team that has really started scoring some goals. It's what we all expected with this potent lineup that they have. Alex Morgan right at the top up there. Sydney LaRue, how good has she been? 2 braces on the season, 4 goals the last 3 games, and 4 goals also for Chioma Abogugu. Marta starting this match on the bench, but she will be available for Tom Sermani's side, and what a difference she made coming off the bench in their last game, a 3-2 win against Sky Blue FC. So that's your little sneak peek at the lineups for this matchup. We're going to go ahead and get you back down to Dalen and Kate, get their thoughts. Specifically, guys, maybe we start with no Rose Lavelle and the impact that that will have on the Washington Spirit.
Yeah, unfortunate for Rose. Hamstring has been a problem for her for over the last year. She's tweaked it a little bit. She's on the 18. We'll see if she can feature at all in the second half of this game. Talking to her before the game, she was frustrated at first, but relieved that it's not a serious injury. How much has her absence hurt this team?
Well, it hurts the team because you're missing that creative spark that with no space whatsoever, clobbered by 3 defenders, she's able to spin her way out of it. And now pass that ball into where those defenders were, creating that space and creating opportunities for fellow players. But more importantly for Rose Lavelle, can she figure out a way, I think as well, to get over the stuff in between her ears, right? It is so hard coming back from a hamstring because as a former player, you need that in every part of running. It takes the most load out of every muscle part, out of every muscle on your body. So you have to get over that fact that a little bit of a stretch might just be scar tissue, but it's smart to be safe than sorry, right? But again, I think that's one of those last hurdles she's going to have to overcome before we see her on a regular basis every single week.
That's what we're all excited for. When she's fully healthy, can play week in and week out, the difference she can make for this team and in this league and for the women's national team, it really, the sky's the limit for her, a player that talented. So one other thing before we get to some highlights, obviously there was a game last night. There was a game earlier today, a big one between North Carolina and Seattle. We'll get there in one sec. Key for this game, we talked about Rose, but in terms of finding a way to slow down Orlando, who scored a lot, but Washington struggling to score themselves. How do you see this game shaking out? What are some of the keys in your mind?
Well, the keys for Washington is make sure that speedy front 3 of Orlando doesn't get in behind, and then Andy Sullivan needs to join the attack. Can it be a collective attack and not just a 1 and 2 transition speed of Ortega and Hatch up top? And for Orlando, it's all about that midfield. They can dominate this game because they have international players from back to front, every single line. Can that midfield control the tempo? Can they control that pace? Can they dictate when they want to go forward? And if they can do that, that Orlando team, I think, won't just be third in the standings. I think they might be able to catch up.
Yeah, they started slow. They lost. The Aussies weren't in town. Obviously, they were qualifying for the Women's World Cup. The Brazilians were doing the same. So they got their whole complement back. They're ready to roll. And, of course, Marta is always Marta. So, all right, let's show you the highlights from what took place earlier this week at NWSL. We start Friday night, Portland on the road in Houston. In the 9th minute, Tobin Heath, she's battled injuries. She missed most of the game 2 weeks ago, but she features here, scores a goal 9 minutes in, assisted by Christine Sinclair, who's been just absolutely ridiculous so far this season. But then at 12th minute mark, Sofia Huerta just joins the team for Houston, traded from Chicago. We will talk about that. She tallies the first time for the dash, ties it up at 1. But back came Portland the other way. Anna Maria Srnogorcevic. God, I love that name. She's able to put it away the second time off of Jane Campbell, gets the header to go. Swiss International lights the lamp. Use some hockey term. Capitals did win the Stanley Cup here. And then Christine Sinclair gets on the ball. Jane Campbell won that one back, went through her hands. But Sinclair leads the league in goals and now tied for assists. The Canadians having a phenomenal campaign. They win 3-1. North Carolina on the road in Seattle. Seattle second in the standings. North Carolina first. Seattle gets on the board first. Megan Oyster heads it in, puts it on at 1-0. They're elated up in the Pacific Northwest. Things went south after that. Jaylene Hinkle, beautiful cross. Lynn Williams delivers on the other side in the 27th minute. Then Crystal Dunn, the U.S. international, she'll get in the mix. And at this point, Kate, the route was kind of on.
Yeah, for Seattle, you hope that they didn't mail it in and say, okay, we're all done, but they didn't. The quality of North Carolina, all the players are in the right system. Paul Riley set up a system just for them, and they just totally dominated Seattle this entire game.
And Merritt Mathias will find the back of the net, as I said. They started pouring a great move, skipping past defenders, lighting it up, getting a little fortunate there as well. 3-1, they go up there, and then Crystal Dunn does it again in the 70th minute. She finds the back of the net, and this kind of breaks Seattle's back a little bit. Their team coming in, you've got the team that's top of the table right now coming into your building, and they got trounced. There's no other way to say it. A tough loss for them, 4-1. Chicago and Utah, that's interesting because, of course, Kristen Press, the trade we all talked about, she came back to the league. She goes to play at Utah, playing her former team, Chicago. And, of course, you can see that game on Go90, the app, go90.com. At 8 Eastern, that game kicks off. Let's show you the standings now as we stand right now. North Carolina is top, and then second, Seattle, Orlando, Portland, all in a logjam there with 19 points. Orlando obviously can get sole possession of second place as they play here shortly, and we'll see if they get that done. Before we get there, though, let's chat with you guys. Send in some questions, submitted them again through Twitter. We appreciate that. This is Kate's favorite part of the show. We'll start with Sofia Huerta. Again, all-name team in the league. For some reason, I struggle to say that the first time every time. Huerta. My pronunciation's terrible. All right, here's the question coming in from @Rio_Rico TX. Now the million-dollar question is whether Sofia Huerta plays as a defender or midfielder for the Houston Dash. This is obviously an issue because for the U.S. Women's National Team and Jill Ellis, you know this well, she wants her to play right back. Huerta wants to be on that national team, wants to be in the qualifying team in October, wants to be in the World Cup team next year in France. That's her best route to that team. But how does she fit in Houston with Vera Powell? We saw her in the midfield. She scored already.
Right. Sofia Huerta asked for the trade, which I thought was interesting because she wanted to find a place where she could get consistent minutes at that right back spot. She goes to Houston, and we're all thinking, okay, that's where she's going to play. And all of a sudden we see her in the number 10 role. Vera Pauw doesn't have to do what Sofia Huerta wants to do, and nor does Vera Pauw have to do what Jill Ellis wants her to do. What's important for Huerta, though, is 90 consecutive minutes because you cannot ever replicate a real game and being game fit. And not only that, learning how to connect with others. So although she's not playing with a ton of space in front of her that you get it right back and having to make those game time decisions on which ball you play, she is learning how to turn under pressure and, again, working in tight spaces.
Yeah, really unfortunate situation. I mean, just a difficult situation. You know, the player wants to play at a certain spot for one team, but club comes first, really, a lot of times, because that's who's making the decisions week in and week out. We'll see if she still can work her way on a Jill Ellis' roster consistently as we roll out for the rest of these friendlies they have coming up and then the qualifying tournament coming up in October. Now, the news of the week also, Huerta was part of it, but Kristen Press coming back into the league, part of a three-team trade between Houston, Chicago, and Utah. So Press goes over to Utah now. Morgan Bryant comes back into the league. She went to Lyon last season, I should say, played in Lyon. Struggled to really get any traction there, to really play for the French champions, one of the most dominant teams in European women's football. But now she comes back here to Chicago. Well, let's ask one question at a time. We'll stick with our Twitter question first, which is press-related. Utah Royals FC have acquired a true playmaker in hopes of adding speed and goal scoring. Will press be the key ingredient to Utah's success? Sent in by @KT Glenn. Katie Glenn, appreciate it. Your thoughts?
Well, Katie, I think it's going to be important to know where she plays. If she plays that number 9 role, she will use that speed to sit on the back shoulders of defenders and get in those gaps and be the goal scorer. But I think she prefers being in that number 10 role, and I think that's where I envision where she'll be. She'll be that linking player in the midfield, knows how to play with Becky Sauerbrunn from their days on the national team on that back line, so she can link the back to the front and then go herself or dish it off to somebody else. So an incredible pickup for Utah, and I think this is going to help them try to make a playoff push.
Yeah, Laura Harvey's been playing a 4-2-3-1 system for pretty much most of the last few games here, and Press would theoretically slot in really well underneath Amy Rodriguez there. Getting her in the mix there, they've been really good on defense. You mentioned Becky Sauerbrunn, the U.S. national team captain, anchors that D. Katrina Gorey's been really good as an attacking midfielder. Is this a team that you could see possibly moving up enough to host a playoff game? Because right now, I mean, it seems like North Carolina's we're going to Carolina for a playoff game. The question is, where else are we going? Do you think Utah could be that destination?
Yeah, but I think a lot of teams could be that destination.
Yeah.
I mean, that is such a logjam. There's so much parity in this league, and as fans, that's what we love to see. So only the cream really will rise to the top, like the Toni Kroos moment from today. Who's going to take it on their back and be able to elevate this team? And I think Utah, with Kristen Press in that lineup, gives them a fighting chance.
It'll be interesting to see that race down the stretch here, but we still got a long way to go and a lot of opportunities here. Orlando's got a big one here today. They can get sole possession of second place if they win that game. Let's go back up to Jenn Hildreth now in the booth who's got more with her Jenn Cool glasses. Jenn, I'm sorry. I thought you were wearing them before.
No.
I think I just messed up, but
no,
they look great.
I just had to make you wait for this little gem. Anybody remember these? I think this was the NWSL Championship maybe a couple of years ago, but anyway, I can see nothing with them on, so let's lose those because we want to tell you guys about the ESPYs. You get a chance to vote for some NWSL players in 3 different categories. The ESPYs coming up July 18th. 8 p.m. Eastern on ABC. You have Female Athlete of the Year, Julie Ertz, U.S. Soccer, 2017 Player of the Year nominated in that category. International Women's Soccer Player, Sam Kerr, Jodie Taylor, both in the mix there. And for NWSL Player, you see the list there. A.D. French, obviously NWSL Goalkeeper of the Year a year ago, Sam Mewis from the North Carolina Courage last year. Rapinoe had a great season she had with 12 goals. But I have to ask you, my friends, as we see Sam Kerr, the last one in that category, I mean, really, is there really anyone who should win that award other than Sam Kerr? Come on.
In the NWSL, no, Sam Kerr every day of the week, every moment, every minute. She dominated the league last year and carried a team that was totally struggling. Now, player in the world? No. Sam Kerr didn't play in the Euros. She didn't play in the European Championship. So I would give it to Lieke Martens, who did win the FIFA Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, she was fantastic. That was a great tournament, and Denmark made a great run, but in the end, Holland and Mertens were absolutely fantastic. We're taking a little brief pause here at Maureen Hendricks Field. Back kickoff will be on ESPN News at the top of the hour, 7 o'clock. We'll be back here with more of the pregame show in a minute. All right, back here on the pregame show with Alex Morgan. And Alex, you're not just a global superstar, you're now a movie star. Alex and Me came out a couple weeks ago. How did that come about? Give me the backstory and how you got into making and being part of a movie.
I'm just so glad that it all came together and we made it happen. And, you know, I think it came out great. Obviously, it started with an idea from Eric Chipnell, the director and the writer of the film, and just approached me about it. I kind of thought he was crazy initially, and then I was like, you know what, this could be an amazing thing that we have going on here. So I was all in. After that, Warner Brothers picked it up and Nickelodeon joined along, and I think it's just been great so far, and I've gotten a great reception from the movie too. Now, we know you've done a bunch of commercials, but this was your first acting in terms of a movie? It was, yeah. I was actually in a good amount of scenes. I had never done acting this extensive before, so I say I was a little rough around the edges, but because I've been playing soccer my entire life, but there's definitely special pressure to penalties, and obviously being expected to score, being that one that should put pressure on people on my shoulders, should put that pressure and take on that pressure. It still has to be the penalties, I'd say. All right, let me ask you one question about the game real quick, though. Coming in here, how do you find a way to walk out of here with the results in a tough place where you guys lost earlier in the season here? Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, because obviously you can look at their roster and see that Washington has a few injuries, see that they're more on the bottom of the table, but that's just us coming in there and trying to make excuses. And for us, we need to play good soccer. I feel like we've just been a little inconsistent throughout the season. So for us, it's kind of getting that consistency throughout the players on the field, throughout just feeding the players the right balls and giving each other the right positioning and just playing our role on the team at the best of our abilities and just being selfless out there on the field.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, now over to Kate, who's with Sydney LaRue.
All right, Sydney, thank you so much for joining us. So Orlando Pride is sitting in third, but your coach says your performances as a team have been a bit up and down. What are you guys doing to improve your consistency?
I think it's been tough. We've had like a lot of different lineups. We've had people in, people out, injuries. So I think we're just finally like getting the group together, and it seems to be working a little better now. These past couple games have been good for us, and so hopefully we can keep moving forward.
Well, individually speaking, the past 2 games you've been phenomenal. 2 goals in the past 2 games makes you tied with teammates for leading goal scorer. What has helped you find the back of the net?
I think like just getting myself in scoring positions. I feel like I've been like on the defensive side a lot more, and I find myself, getting in a little better positions to score. So, and it's happening.
So getting higher up the field must be a little bit easier when Marta's on the pitch.
Yeah, for sure.
What makes her so special, and why does she make your job as an attacker easier?
I think that she brings in so many players, and she's able to get out of these tight situations where there's like 5 players around, so it leaves all of us open. And she just makes people better. She makes her teammates better. She makes all of us better, and she's a joy to play with.
All right, good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Aubrey Bledsoe was absolutely fantastic last week for the Washington Spirit, holding on to a point, being the NWSL Player of the Week. Her saves were phenomenal. Kate has more with the netminder from the Spirit.
Aubrey, thank you so much for joining us. So you lead the league with saves, and you had 2 shutouts in the past 2 games. How are you feeling coming into today's game?
Feeling pretty confident. Just want to keep rolling off those performances. Our defense has done tremendously these past 2 games, so hopefully now our offense can get going and we can get a win today.
Now you're playing against Orlando, a team you're very familiar with. In fact, you were with them last year. What are some of the advantages playing against your old team?
I'd say I know their identity and their attacking tendencies. It was a pleasure going up against Alex and Marta and all their great attacking talent every day. So I kind of know what to expect. Obviously, they're still incredible players, and it'll be tough to stop today, but looking forward to playing against them.
Okay, now this team isn't where you want it to be in terms of the standings. What are some of the steps you guys need to take collectively to get yourselves into playoff contention?
We're just trying to look at it game by game. There's still lots of hope to make the playoffs. This league this year is really close, so we just need 1 win, and we'll keep building from there. But I think we still can get in the playoffs.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
She's absolutely right. A win would go a long way to getting them back into the standings, but Orlando, too, the chance to claim second place if they get a win here at Maureen Hendricks Field. That's it for the pregame show. Grab your remote, turn on ESPN News. We are live at the top of the hour. We'll see you there.